Welcome in to the Rockies Insider. I am your Rockies Insider, Patrick Lyons, and joining me today, this is a little bit of a crossover. This is going to be an exciting one. We got to talk about the farm system. We got to talk about the game on Tuesday night. And so, who better to talk about prospects? The man who's at the top of the Rockies prospect world. It is none other than Aaron McBride from Blake Street Banner. What's going on, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. What, third show, fourth show, whatever you're at. So it's cool to be one of the early guests for Patrick Lyons Rockies Insider Pod.
Yeah, once a week, at least once a week, gonna focus entirely on the prospects.
I love
And
that.
and again, you're the guy doing the big things over there at Blake Street Banner, and it's an exciting time, I think, for a lot of fans who, see some good product on the field. Again, the win loss column suggests that it's not as good maybe as they're seeing. They're still professional athletes, but nevertheless going to 100 loss seasons in back-to-back campaigns, not great. So you look to the farm system and say, hey, maybe there's something to get hyped about. Maybe there's some hope there. And there absolutely does seem to be that. So we'll get into that today. Just wanted to touch on a couple things from Tuesday night. Attempted to do a post game pod. We didn't fail historically. It just could have gone better. I just wanted to ask you, what's your level of concern right now with the Kyle Freeland injury? He came out of Tuesday night's game, a 6-3 win over the Mets, exited after a ball, and but Black trainer checked on him, threw one more pitch, gave up a hit to Nimmo there, and then he was done. This is now his third time with a blister on his pitching hand. Level of concern right now with Freeland leaving Tuesday night's game early.
I would rather have a blister issue than the arm issue that he had earlier, like a blister that kind of creeped up on him. Like I saw it was just kind of out of nowhere. It wasn't there. And then like the fourth or fifth inning, the blister just kind of popped up and it's just like, okay, so we're done with this. Blisters, usually pitchers maybe take an extended time in between starts. So my level of concern would probably be a 2 or 3. Like, give me a blister all day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take. Again, as you said, it's not the arm, it's not the elbow, it's not a much more serious area. This is now his third time with a blister issue. The first time didn't go well. That was more of a blood blister in April of 2019. That was when he was not looking great. Had a 9.66 ERA. For a period of time and got sent back down to the minors. If you remember, after finishing fourth in the Cy Young Award voting, came back, still wasn't very good, 8.66 ERA. His final 6 starts, he was able to figure out a couple things, a 4.61 ERA. Then in July of 2021, came right before the All-Star break, returned, made his next normal start, so had a few extra days rest, had a even 3 ERA over his next 8 starts. So in general, it doesn't seem like he'll miss a ton of time. We'll find out at the ballpark today. Make sure you're following at Patrick D. Lyons, at Rockies_Insider, and at Blake Street Banner. They're going to be at the ballpark as well, breaking any news about Freeland's blister. But yeah, I think there's not a ton of concern right now. It's a waiting game. We'll wait and see, but maybe 1 start, 2 starts at the max, not that serious.
Yeah, no, not at all. If we're worried about a blister, we're rooting for the wrong team right now.
For sure,
we'll be all right.
Sure. Well, let's get to the prospects. Let's get to the guy who is arguably the top prospect. Not all of the pundits have gone out and recalibrated after the 2024 MLB draft. But this man was the 3rd overall pick, the largest signing bonus, not just in franchise history, but in MLB history, $9.25 million for Charlie Condon. Initial thoughts here in the early going, the fact that the Rockies, though they were sitting in the 3rd spot, were able to pick up the best hitter in this year's draft, the 2024 Golden Spikes Award winner.
A home run, like pun intended. He was always the guy, right? Like talking to Tyler, talking to Luke, the 2 guys behind the draft of the Blake Street Banter side. Like it's either Condon or bust. Like it's not, no question about it. Maybe Burns. Like if Burns was available, you could start an argument between Condon or Burns. But like if Condon was there, you have got to take him being the best bat in the entire draft without question. So, I mean, it's a home run hit. Like you have to be excited about that, man.
For sure. As you were punning there, 37 home runs at the University of Georgia, again against SEC competition, a BB core record. So that goes back to 2011 when they modified the bats to make it so that pitchers were not getting decapitated on a weekly basis. Thanks to Jackson joining us in the chat. Congratulations on the pod. Look, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for my man here, Aaron McBride from Blake Street Banner. Folks at Just Baseball, obviously integral in all of this. So glad to be talking prospects and to be talking about Charlie Condon, not just the hope and the hype, but now we're finally see him on a field. Tuesday, he finally got word he was going to high A Spokane, so he skips low A. I think that makes sense. Makes his professional debut in Spokane and looks great in that uniform.
He looks great, but he went over last night. I think, is it too early to call it a bust? I don't know. Some people on Twitter are saying he can't do it. Yeah, debut did not go so well. He had a fly ball and I guess a giant left field out there up in Tri-City, but 0 for 3 strikeouts in the game after that initial just hitted ball out there. But he looks the part, hit third last night, played left field. Got to tune in a little bit. Thank you. Huge shout out to Lewis, our Mike behind the scenes on Blake Street Banter doing the clipping and stuff. Like he's giant. He's built. Like there's no reason to think that this man just isn't built out of a lab to hit home runs at Mile High.
On paper, you're looking and saying he's a 21-year-old kid, and then you see him on the field, and as you said, he's a man. Yeah, make sure you're following Blake Street Banner on all the socials for clips of these players on a nightly basis. The question that I have for you, the big one of the day, is how long do you think it's going to be until we actually see Charlie Condon play for the Rockies? When does he make his debut at Coors Field and in Denver? Because baseball, the disadvantage I think that they have more than the other big four professional sports is these players need to gestate just a little bit in the minors. They need to, pay their dues, so to speak, but also learn a lot about what it takes to jump from the amateur ranks to the professional ranks. And it does take a bit of while. We are seeing that timeline, shrink down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Guys are getting an opportunity a lot sooner. How soon will that opportunity come for Condon with the Rockies?
Yeah, it's way different now. If we look at the Jordan Beck track, right? Like, drafted in 2022, played a little bit that next season, had a full season under his belt in 2023, and then he was with the major league club in 2024, right? So we're doing 2 years, 2026. We're looking at him fighting for a starting position, but Condon's a little bit different, though. Patrick, that's he outfield, third base, first base. Do you really want your first round draft pick being a DH only? So there's a little bit of where is he going to play defensively, where I think he might need to spend a little bit more time in the minors doing it. Like we see prospects learning new positions all the time at the minor league level because we need to fill you in. Like Michael Tolia did that with outfield. He can hold his own out there, right? Hunter Goodman learning the outfield for the very first time. Shoot, he learned first base for the first time in the minor leagues. So like you can't just throw these athletes and say, hey, go figure it out. Like it's not little league anymore. So there's a little bit more of a learning curve with that. So learning a new position, where that might be, how that might look, might extend that timeline. But if you take all that out and you play the bat and put it wherever he wants, you got to imagine he's fighting for an open day roster spot in 2026. He might get a late September, August call up in 2025. Like he is that good.
Shout out to the homie Jose. Looking forward to seeing you at the ballpark there, doing some great baseball coverage for El Extra Baseball. Got to have him on as a guest on the show. Dude knows a lot. Dude is a sabermetrician. There you go. It's funny hearing you say that. I have to agree with everything you said, and it's complicated. And I think that's something worth breaking down. Should it be that complicated? Because as you said, Hunter Goodman, his bat played up and he got an opportunity early. That's something that Bill Schmidt, has said a lot when it comes to these prospects. They'll tell us when they're ready. And it suggests that, hey, when a guy is ready, we are going to move them up. They are going to move along and get the next opportunity. And I think that was true for Hunter Goodman on one hand. On the other, while he's on the big league roster, he's not getting the reps. He's not playing as much as you would like to see. So his bat got him there, but something is preventing him from staying there and staying on the field, right? Getting those opportunities. And as you said, you don't want your first round pick third overall in 2024, to be a DH only, at least not at first. But at the same time, if he's ready offensively, you might as well give him that opportunity. Therein lies some of the complications, because right now at DH, if you're looking at, either late 2025 or 2026, as you're predicting, and I like that prediction. Is Chris Bryant going to be blocking out your DH spot there? So that's where it does become a little bit complicated. But again, a lot of this is just dependent on Charlie Condon raking at every level and saying, "Hey, I'm ready for the next challenge." And until he's at Coors Field, he's got more challenges ahead of him in a really positive way. So I do hope that you're right, that I'm right, that Rockies fans get to see him as soon as 2026.
Yeah, it would be really. I mean, we saw Spencer Torkelson. Like, that's my biggest concern, right? No matter unanimous 101, like, you have to do it. And he goes and hits 30, 35 bombs last year. And then he comes back this year. It's like, oh, okay, something's broken here. So let's send you back down. So he had that taste, but he wasn't able to be consistent with it. So like you were saying earlier, like, you're rushing these prospects up. You don't want to do that as much, but they're going through the system a little bit. So like, how can you prepare a Charlie Condon who has this huge upside, this huge power, this huge bat tool? How do you really prepare him for that major league and getting ready for that? And I think the Rockies kind of have a system. Like, if you're watching closely, like, let's go back to Nolan Jones last year when he was called up for his little cup of coffee in May, hung out for a week, and then was sent back down. Like, hey, you are in the future, right? A little bit of that with Jordan Beck. You can see some of the pitchers were doing that too. So it's, I don't know. The Rockies are going to Rocky. Like, that's the ongoing joke goes. But like, I think there is a plan and there is some kind of system into play to see how these guys can really do it.
This draft seems like it's been really only about two guys, and we'll talk about the second guy in just a second. Charlie Condon and player number 2. Again, we'll get to him. But number 3 on the draft board there also made his debut last night. Jared Thomas out of the University of Texas, Austin. 1 pitch, 1 base hit. Great start for the 21-year-old outfielder first baseman.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for a better debut. He's with Fresno, like you said. He had the 2 walks last night to go along with it, which is good to see for a guy in low A. If you can go look at low A stats, you're going to see a lot of walks, but like also not a lot of walks from some of the top prospects. So they all want to go swing, but the pitching's not as great as other places. So getting 2 walks in that debut is huge. I think Jared Thomas might be a kind of a sneaky 3rd round draft pick. I don't know much about him. I asked Tyler and again Luke about like, who is Jared Thomas and why Jared Thomas, especially with our 3rd round pick. And they speak very highly of him. Very athletic, already has kind of a major league swing. It's all kind of there. So it's going to be interesting to see how his stuff will play. Like, you want to see the ball elevated. He already has that kind of in his swing to go along with it. So it's not something he has to develop. So it's just go be an athlete and go with the bumps and bruises and to see what you can do.
18 for 18 in stolen bases this past year too.
Yeah.
So I can do it on the base paths, maybe selectively, but that's okay. You're going to need those bags. All right. The second guy that I think this draft has been a lot about is now a friend of yours, close personal friend, Brody Brecht. You actually talked with him Tuesday night. Recommend everybody to go over to the Blake Street Banner YouTube page. Check out that podcast, the conversation with him for about 20 minutes there. What were your big takeaways from the University of Iowa right-handed starting pitcher? What were your takeaways from that conversation?
I want to go to war with this man. Like, it's insane. Like, like when you talk to somebody, like, you can just see it in the video. Like, he's an athlete, right? He played football, he played baseball, he knows who he is, he knows what he does. But like, who gets it beyond like just the between the line stuff? Like, he likes the moment, he likes the pressure, he knows what it means to get a little bit better. Like, he was very open about, my splitter, I would only throw it against lefties 0-2. That's the only time I throw it. But then I was like, no, let's figure this out. And so he did in the last 5 or 6 weeks, like you mentioned, of his college career, he was throwing out 16, 17% of the time. So he's already adding that 3rd pitch into the mix. He knows that his fastball could use some work. And like, he's a very aware of who he is, where he's at in his professional development and what he needs to work on. And he has the drive to do it. Like, dude, man just said, good. when he wasn't drafted in the first round. Like, yeah, like there's gonna be a chip, and he's gonna find that chip, and he's gonna be that dog that you're gonna want to play behind and play for. So I'm pretty stoked about Brody Brecht.
Slider, one of the best secondary pitches, if not the best secondary pitch of anyone selected in the 2024 draft. A guy who played football at the University of Iowa, so a two-sport, two-way athlete. So pretty impressive dude. Looking forward to see where he's going to end up. Might get shut down because had close to 90 innings pitched with the Hawkeyes. So a lot of those pitchers you almost have to wait and see in that second year, and that is absolutely okay. Best of day 2 and day 3. Yeah, who are some of the guys that stood out? I'll tell you that for me, Cole Messina really reeks of a Hunter Goodman 2.0, right? A catcher that can hit. He won the Johnny Bench Award as the top Division I catcher, named to the All SEC tournament. And Cole Messina, probably the best of the top guys that you can really count on being a top 30 prospect. There's a couple guys I like from day 2 and day 3, Alan Espinal and Everett Catlett, a lefty that seems like almost like a left-handed version of Gavin Hollowell, if you want to throw a comp on a guy. But Cole Messina, probably the best from day 2. Who were some of the other names, or at least one name that you're saying, hey, you know what, this guy could end up being the steal of the 24 draft for the Rockies?
I'm really big on LeBaron Johnson Jr., the right-hand pitcher out of Texas. Like, he can pipe 99 if he wants to get it up there, but he sits around 95, 96. A big over-the-top fastball, which is something the Rockies are kind of working with. Like, you're seeing a lot of these big right-handers over the top to add to the crafty lefty that they're also adding to the system. So they kind of have a system, and LeBaron is one of those guys. Does need to work on his control a little bit. 44 walks last year in 72 innings, not something you really want to see, but he's getting 40% whiff rate on his slider that is allowing OPS of like 600. So not terrible numbers by LeBaron Johnson there. And then somebody from the day 3 that I really liked is who is it? Sam Girth.
Sam Girth, big signing bonus out of JUCO.
That makes me kind of see they see something in him. He actually, Brad Hopp, who we also had on the pod last week, went to the same community college there, Navarro College, before Hopp went to LSU. So there is that little pedigree there. There's, I think, Chris Davis, the Orioles Chris Davis, also went to Navarro. So it's a baseball school. So why not lean into it? But he got this $150,000 signing bonus on top of the minimum that you signed for. Just a young kid. He's the closest thing to a high school pitcher that the Rockies kind of picked this year. You don't see a lot about it, and you don't know much about him, which is fun, right? Like, I kind of like this. I'm big on Jackson Cox because didn't know much about him, and he was a high school arm, so we can see how that kind of develops and goes forward. Give me Victor Warres all day. Like, give me all these young guys that can do it. But it is noted that he has a fastball that can hit up to 95. And a slider that decimated hitters this year, according to our own Tyler Pador. So I think he's one that I'm watching pretty closely there too, just to see the young guy develop.
Yeah, you dig in deep with the prospects, and that's where I wanted to ask you about the guys that have already been in the farm system these last couple years, because I think for a lot of fans that really get into hardcore and to becoming a prospect pundit, or at least putting their chips on certain guys, it's really fun to not intentionally target a guy outside the top 20, but to find someone that's outside the top 20 of prospects and say, hold on a second, there's something missing, something that a lot of people are missing about this player. I remember in 2017, 2018 going, Josh Fuentes isn't just Nolan Arenado's cousin. I think there's something here. Broke out with the Yard Goats in 2017, PCL MVP in 2018. And you go, yeah, but it's Pacific Coast League. There was something legitimately there if you watched him. Alan Trejo was another one of those guys for me. Again, we're not talking superstar players, but you are talking about guys that are very much overlooked. You don't really see them in the top 30 prospects until they are in the final stretch in Albuquerque. And you say, there's something there. This is a big leaguer. For you, who is someone that's a sleeper that you think will at least, scratch the big leagues, even if they don't make a huge impact? They are someone that you think is going to have more than just a cup of coffee in the majors, either with the Rockies or someone else.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down this list. We fall in love with these guys a little bit because they are friends of the pod and that kind of stuff. I am a little bit biased when I say this name, and if you've been a Blake Street Bander follower, you already know the name I'm going to say. But he's in AAA, so I know that doesn't follow your rules. But Dugan Darnell is meant to be a reliever for the Colorado Rockies. Now he should be up there. I I have this hunch that it's a good thing that he hasn't been called up because the revolving door that the Rockies are doing with the arm barns. All right, we're going to call you up and then you're going to leave and we're going to cut you and then DFA, blah, blah, blah. Meaning they haven't seen a lot of Riley Pint, a lot of Dugan Darnell. So maybe Dugan Darnell really is in that. He hasn't allowed 0 runs in like the last 2 months. He threw three outs last night. I think of 16 pitches, all strikes. So like he's not walking a lot. He's developing that control, which you don't see at the PCL level. So there's the fastball can hit 97, 98. He has a fun little curveball. He's working on the splitter. So like he is legit and he's a fantastic story too. But like beyond that, you could go pitching for days. Like give me Michael Proshecki, pitched 110 innings last year, was rehabbing this year, dominated. Fresno is in Spokane now. I can see him getting a lot of strikeouts, maybe a 4-5 starter, long reliever type. You can go Connor Stain, Jack Mahoney, Mr. Spin Zone himself, Isaiah Copay, who was player of the week for the California League. It could be a really fun relief arm, a little different because the spin is insane on what he can do. And then like I'm huge on relievers. I think Jaden Hill can be a shutdown guy I think he might be on the Rockies top 30. But he's somebody that is in Albuquerque will get called up soon. You got to imagine. And then with the sticks, Braden Ward might be a 4th outfielder going forward. A lot of bat to ball skills, plays with fire. If you want a stolen base, he can get you. And then I think they're doing my man Zach Kokoska dirty right now in Hartford. He leads the Rockies minor league system in home runs, but he's only playing against righties, which why are we platooning a man in AA? But that's an argument we had on our last pod. So you can go listen to that for that little piece. And then I think Ryan Ritter. Ritter, that's a good one. You said, Fuentes and Trejo. Ryan Ritter's been the most consistent hitter at Hartford in a very tough hitting environment in the Eastern League. And he's been the most consistent all the way through. His knock was he's a glove first, bat tool needs to come around, and yet he's hitting 3rd in the Eastern League for the Hartford Yard Goats who won the first half. So I think there's something there in Ryder Ritter. Where do you find room with him, find playing time? That's a good problem to have. But I think the biggest stock I would probably put money in would be the Ryan Ritter stock.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair take. He's been not necessarily a pleasant surprise since he was an early round pick, but he's been a player that does not get the same buzz, I think, as a lot of other prospects. That's a good take. Yeah, as you mentioned, some of these guys are already in AA, AAA. We probably might see Jaden Hill. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. How many more guys are we going to see make their major league debut this year? But we had a ton of promotions in the last week. Carson Palmquist is now in AAA, allows 6 runs in 3 2/3 innings pitched in Las Vegas. That's a tough spot to make your AAA debut, but he is now there. Seth Halverson, who has risen really quickly after just getting drafted last year. Jaden Hill, also now just 1 step away in AAA. And then at AA, you had both Chase Dollander and Sean Sullivan go up to Hartford. So they are 2 steps away. And the way that the Rockies have been operated, pitchers have been getting promoted from AA Hartford. So I don't think we're going to see either of those guys in the majors this year, but you are really 1 step away nowadays for a pitcher if you are in AA. You saw Luis Peralta make his debut, 2 relief appearances, scoreless frame in each of those. And I think maybe Kyle Karros could be the next one up on that list. I don't know how much longer they're going to let him bake in Spokane, maybe just long enough to make sure that he locks in that Northwest League MVP award. I think he probably already has it, but let's play a quick little game before we get out of here. This is the gimme game. Now, not gimme like easy, but gimme like gimme a guess, because this might be difficult, but you gotta give me a guess. So let's talk about Jordan Beck. He's a player that is on his way back to Coors Field, figuratively, not literally. He's back with after getting the plate in the hand. Bud Black saying before Tuesday's game, "Hey, we can't wait to get him back." He homered on Tuesday night. My question for you is, How many of Jordan Beck's teammates from the 2022 Tennessee Volunteers went on to get drafted in the last 3 drafts? Give me a guess.
Tennessee.
University of Tennessee, from that
mean-
2022 class. How many guys have gotten drafted?
I mean, you have what, Dollander and Halverson for sure. With that being said, 15.
Okay, I sent you an outline of some things, but I did not put this on the outline.
No,
That's exactly right.
it is
15.
Okay, nice.
15. 7 pitchers, 8 hitters. You had about 6 guys go in the first round or first round supplemental.
Yeah.
Pitchers: Chase Dollander, because Burns was with Tennessee before he went to Wake.
Yep.
Hitters: Drew Gilbert, Christian Moore, who just got taken this year, Blake Burke, and Trey Lipscomb. Wow. Okay, so if we're doing a point system, you're at 0. You're doing great.
Let's do that. Yeah, I like that.
All right, here's where you could be off by a couple hundred. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
How many miles is Duncan Park in Hartford from Coors Field in Denver? Give me a guess.
I mean, I'm terrible with miles. You're looking 2,300.
Okay, not bad. Not bad. I think that's pretty good. You're in the ballpark. 1,877 miles. It's a 28-hour drive. Get a flight. Take a flight.
Yeah, don't do it.
This isn't Albuquerque. This is not the I-25 squad. You do need a flight. I'm going to give you a win on that one. All right, how many players on the current 40-man roster have not played a single game with the Rockies? So there are a couple guys
40
that have not actually debuted, but they are on the 40-man roster. Give me a guess.
Yankiel Fernandez, Juan Mejia, Antoine Kelly, who have not played for the Rockies.
Correct. Yeah.
So Blaylock, so we're at 4. There's probably 2 more in there. 6.
But you can't name them, right?
I can't name the other 2 right now off the top of my head.
Because they don't exist. You got it. 4. You named them all. That's right. Yeah. See, that's where I thought it would stump. It would stump the mere mortal. Bradley Blaylock and then Antoine Kelly. I haven't even heard about him. He wasn't acquired in a trade, picked up off the draft from the Rangers. So, I mean, you nailed it. I was not out here trying to stump you, but you are crushing this. Yeah, I think we're going to end up seeing all 4 this year to get their first cup of coffee, maybe early September for Blaylock. Kelly, I actually thought would be called up any minute, right, to give another lefty in the bullpen. That might not happen because Chase and Shreve did just get called up. John Curtis designated for assignment ahead of Tuesday's game. So that could block an opportunity for Antoine Kelly. All right, last but not least, Ryan McMahon debuted in 2007. So did Kyle Freeland. McMahon just turned 30. Freeland is 31. Are there more position players who have appeared this season for the Rockies? Did more position players debut before McMahon, or have more pitchers debuted before Freeland?
So just Rockies only?
Yes, guys who have played this year, and at for some team, maybe it was the Rockies, maybe another team, made their debut before 2017. I'm trying to think of how many old guys you can think about on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think both catchers, Blackman, KB, Cave, maybe 5. Throw in 6.
Who's the 6th?
Is he an active Rocky? Because I was thinking Jalen Beeks, but I don't think that's right.
So again, you gave him maybe to Jake Cave. No, he debuted after. I think he's 2018. So you had the 4 on the position players, and then 4 pitchers all debuted before 2017, and they were all 2016. Matt Carasetti pitched earlier this year. Matt Cook, Ty Block, and Herman Marquez. So actually, nobody on the 26-man roster. Kyle Freeland, the oldest for service time, right? And you nailed the hitters: Blackman in 2011, Diaz and Bryant in 2015. Jacob Stallings in 2016. You crushed it.
Yeah, that feels really good. Like,
look,
I'm terrible at these things.
I wasn't necessarily trying to set you up for success. I definitely wasn't trying to sandbag you, but I was like, I gotta make a fair little trivia game here. And you absolutely nailed it. So because of that, you've earned your plugs, Aaron. Go ahead, plug away. Take 10 minutes if you need to, but let folks know where you can, they can get all the great content from you and the rest of the folks at your company.
I mean, yeah, Blake Street Banter, Blake ST Banter on the Twitter. Find us on Instagram, the YouTube. We really just want to get as many followers as possible just to promote some of these minor league guys that we were kind of talk about that don't get the love that they deserve. We just saw Blake Goldsberry, who was a friend of the pod. He got released yesterday, 2 days ago, which is a huge bummer. But he has a fun story, undrafted free agent out of Kansas. So like following us on the YouTube and finding us on your favorite podcast platform really does promote us, but also it's really just to hear the stories of these guys, right? Brad Hopp, Jeff Francis, we're friends of the pod. Like we do a lot of different fun things, and like having Brody Brecht, I think we got a big one kind of on the line for Monday that you might want to tune into. So go ahead and find us wherever you find it, and just a huge shout out to the whole team behind me. I'd be remiss to, like, I'm not here, I'm not doing anything without Tyler Pador, Mike Lewis Taggart there. I mean, I think these graphics look pretty nice, right? You got the whole squad, Luke and J Mac and Isaac, and I know I'm missing one in there, Nick. It's just a whole squad that's kind of doing their thing, that it can't, Blake Street Banter isn't anything without all the people behind it, and just kind of making the wheels go on this little thing that we're doing here. Noah, I forgot freaking Noah, man. Huge shout out to
before
Noah.
me. I was gonna throw that in.
I knew there was one. My bad, Noah. Huge shout out to Noah. He's our boots on the ground in Coors Field and doing his thing as our intern, so to speak. So just a lot of dudes just having fun, talking rocks, and especially prospects and draft. And everybody has their own little niche, and we kind of lean into it and have fun with it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Got to make sure you're checking them out. Blake Street Banner everywhere, all the social medias, YouTube. Make sure you're following me at Patrick D Lyons, at Rockies_insider. Heading down to the ballpark here in just a little bit for Game 2, Rockies Mets. Time for the sign off. Tune in tomorrow where I may have a sign